Welcome to Doobies and Movies 21. Oof, where do I begin? Here's Dark Materials, Season 2, what happens to be the finale, even though it's episode 7. It's entitled Æsahættr. And yeah, I don't know, you go first.
Look, I mean, as the one who's been hopeful for this whole season, I'm not going to say it was like a terrible episode of TV because it wasn't. It was entertaining. It was probably the most entertaining episode this season.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think that should have been a 9 or a 10 out of 10 episode. And the fact that it wasn't, the fact that suddenly it's a finale, the fact that that Lee's death and Joffrey's death just did not. It wasn't like they were like terribly done. I just didn't really feel anything. And in the book, it's such an emotional ending to the book. The only point in the episode that I really felt anything was Azriel's speech at the end, to be perfectly honest. That had any emotional impact on me whatsoever. Regardless, as an episode of TV, it wasn't bad. It was entertaining. It was, reasonably well structured and everything. But this is honestly for me been the most worrying episode of the season, to be honest, because I kept holding a bit of hope that the end was going to be really powerful and they were going to actually make you feel something, and I just didn't.
No, I agree. I thought, it was pretty crap. You're right. It was more entertaining than other episodes. It had more of a pace to it and more of a consequence. Therefore, I think for the casual viewer, that would have been quite a decent episode. But I think that's one that will piss off a lot of people. Lee's death was almost a joke, that action scene. Like, it's just behind a rock, just shooting people, and then just keep going. Okay, I'll keep going. We're shooting people again, and then it comes back to it, and then skips a whole bit of the fight. She's like, "Oh, we held them off. It's like, oh, well, could we not watch him holding them off? Because that
it was really broken up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fight? I don't know why that wasn't just one long, continuous action scene.
They skipped a bit.
The episode
they don't know how to do action.
No, they don't know how to do action. No, and that's one that's really important. I thought the episode started off quite well, actually. There was a nice bit without dialogue, and I've kind of realised that I think part of the problem is they really rely on dialogue so much in so many of these episodes, and they're just afraid to do a decent sequence with no talking or not much and really explain things through the images a bit more. So I kind of liked that at the beginning of the episode, but yeah, I just thought, you finally realise wow, that was the finale. 7 episodes that felt weirdly rushed, horribly paced, to be honest. Horribly paced.
Yeah, horribly paced.
I was genuinely pretty.
But the Lee death, at least, at least it was really terribly done. But at least it was what happened in the books, whereas the Joffrey death, skipping out the whole witch subplot, which would have added more meaning to the death. And
I'm not imagining that, am I? That is a thing in the...
No, I looked it up. The witch subplot that would have added more to the witch's aspect of the story and would have added more to Joffrey's death. So I really don't see why they left it out. That's such a stupid thing to leave out. Could have made the
witches interesting. That could have been the saving grace of the witches. The thing that you one more witch character, someone you're kind of rooting for, someone who adds a different side to the witches. I don't understand why. Why could they not do more episodes?
Well, especially when they also did all of that time on Lord Boreal and then did a shit death for him. They could have spent that time doing a subplot that was actually in the books.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is frustrating, and I think it's just really shit, to be honest. Shit going on them to think that wasn't important, and because the show has suffered as a result. And then you got the witch content, which was better than the other, but their conversations were a bit more legitimate now. They were less airy-fairy because it was something's actually going on for them to talk about, but it still felt a bit unnatural and weird, and cold. It was a little bit better than previous witch scenes.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's not like I hated the episode overall. I thought it was pretty. It's just the fact that it should have been amazing. It should have been tear-jerking and really emotionally resonant.
Never was at this point. They'd already fucked up for me in the last couple episodes with how much, because I obviously knew that this moment was coming, especially with Lee, who was a character that had been built from early in the show, 2 seasons now, would have been a fan favorite if anyone cares enough to have a fan favorite. And I just knew when they weren't developing him or adding more emotional scenes for him before the death, that the death was never going to hit that hard. In terms of Joffrey, I think that the scene wasn't actually awful with him and Will. It just was better in the book.
You're right.
Also, I didn't like how they like talk for a bit and then Joffrey's almost pretty much says like, "Oh, enough about that. Let's get back to plot talk." And it was a bit frustrating for me. I mean, he doesn't say it, but he pretty much does. Like he does a little look. It's like, okay, now back to plot talk. You're the knife bearer. It's like, what? So after all that time away, you had 3 or 4 lines to say to each other before the plot talk again. Yeah, I can see.
I guess he felt the need to get on quickly and and explain Will's mission to him, which was, I don't know. It's just like, it's just that complete lack of creativity, and complete ticking boxes. I don't know. For me, it's like I've now got very little hope for the 3rd season, to be honest.
No, none
The
at all.
only kernel of hope that I still have, the only thing I still don't think they're completely fucking up, is Will and Lyra's relationship, which is still working for me. It still makes sense. It still feels quite powerful. It's the only thing. It's my only.
It feels so irrelevant when the show's not good. I
know. I agree. I'm just trying to find places that I can. It's not even praising them because I don't think they've done it amazingly, but it is there. It is working. It's not. They're generally the scenes that I tend to like. I think there were some more good ones this episode.
Okay, so moving on from obviously the deaths we didn't like, and why we didn't like them, there was the reveal that Lyra is Eve, and there was all that weird Miss Coulter Spectre bullshit. And then, which inevitably leads to her kidnapping Lyra. So all of that wasn't terrible, to be honest. The stuff with the Spectres is all like started to have again a bit more purpose or whatever. I don't hate it.
I think I like.
But is that how they reveal about Lyra being Eve? Like some witch, Miss Coulter killing a witch and shit?
It might even be because I think Miss Coulter does kill the witch in the book, so it really could be.
I didn't hate that.
I think it added more to Miss Coulter's character. Actually, I thought she seemed a bit more like genuinely evil and crazy, but you kind of understand her a bit more. I thought Miss Coulter was quite good.
To a degree, I just don't think that they've made it a very deep thing. Her like, oh, I'm doing all this for my daughter, which in the book seems like, I don't know, it just seemed a bit more realistic or impactful. But then we get kind of the tease at the end with Azrael's speech to the angels, and seeing kind of Yorick for a second and being like, okay, look, these are the guys that have missed the season, and they obviously will make it better. But how much the writing will improve is I don't have much hope for. But yeah, you liked the speech at the end. I mean, it was all right. I just seemed a bit thrown in there. And when you see that they were actually intending to do a standalone Azra episode, it makes sense that they just kind of put the speech at the end, because could have done with an episode on him and where he's been, and it could have been quite a cool TV one-off thing, and a little bit, again, a more of a creative idea that they haven't shown to do an Azra episode. James McAvoy is obviously good enough to do that, and you could follow him through some of his adventures through the world, and that could have been a cool, trippy episode.
It's a shame they didn't get to do that.
The trippiness is absent, which, like, I get in season 1 that
the magic
wasn't there, but that magic and trippiness and
the real, like, I don't know, the real beauty of it. I mean, I like the setting of the end. There was like a nice shot with like Will was with his dad, and you kind of pull back, and it's like the world seems quite nicely done there. But I just, again, I didn't. It's not even like I thought it was like a terrible episode. I didn't really. I just thought, this was kind of their last chance to really do something even a little bit impressive or out of the box. I just don't think they did it at all.
No, it wasn't good. So I guess moving on, we'll talk about. Oh yeah, there was all those bits of Mary before we finish. Which was there any conclusion to that? Was she just reading things?
The last scene was her with, yeah, she was just reading things, and then the last scene was her with Leanna Mormon and going off.
Okay, well that then there's nothing really to talk about. Well then, yeah, let's talk about the season as a whole. So yeah, it wasn't all terrible. Not every second of it was terrible. It had its moments, but it was weaker than season one, which to me is pretty bad going, because season one wasn't anything perfect. It was a decent attempt, a decent crack, and it was all about kind of moving to next gear. And instead, they seem to have just lost themselves in the narrative, in my opinion. Got confused about what's important, and yeah, just tried to get to events into the books without letting them really feel. Obviously, a lot of focus has gone on Lyra and Will, and you say that's an element you like, but if that focus was put elsewhere, or elsewhere more, I'm not saying don't put it on that, but put some more time onto other elements like Lee. I think Lee got fucked in this season. I think he could have had a really powerful arc resulting in his death, and instead it was like some weeks he wasn't even in it.
And he just wants to say Lyra. He loves Lyra, wants to help Lyra, meets Joffrey, and then dies trying to protect. I don't know. There's no real depth to him. Much as I thought the actor's pretty great, to be honest. I do.
On the whole, casting is probably the area that they've succeeded the most, but there's only so much that could do. The dialogue is quite often quite shit, and there's not enough subtext either.
Yeah, I know. And going back to Will and Lyra this season, you're right. I mean, I feel like they did do a decent enough job at making their relationship impactful and work and make sense, but they could have done that with less. I don't think they needed everything that they did with them. There was a lot of fat around the edges that could have been trimmed. And
I think
really made that relationship work with a few really impactful scenes. I think
the main areas would have been Lee and the witches for me to spend more time with, and maybe have got this Azrael episode. I'm fine though.
This is Poulter to do better with, I think as well.
More time with Miss Coulter to have more up her sleeve.
I keep saying through it, but Mary Malone I've liked this season. I don't think it's a huge praise because we've done a huge amount, but and again, maybe it's just the actress. But
she hasn't found out anything yet.
Well, she found out that she's a serpent, play the serpent.
Did she find that out?
Yeah, the computer said play the serpent to her.
Okay. Well, okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Mary Malone was, again, let's say Mary Malone was the strongest aspect of the season because it was a new character they introduced and she had more of a well-rounded arc. I did feel that her, again, just stuff like with her co-worker and her sister felt very inauthentic, and I would have liked when they went into her human life that it felt a bit more real, especially that world being a reflection of our own. But I guess, yeah, that was their struggle overall, was creating that feeling of realness and humanness. And I sort of say the show, I mean, I might have said it before, but the show's missing Roger. And I never thought, I mean, that's a criticism for like the book. When do you ever think, oh, I'm missing Roger? But the show is, Roger added some level of humanity, and looking back on it, as well as Egyptians, I think they added some, just cool heart and humanity to it. I gotta say, the peak of me enjoying the show was probably in the Billy Costa part of it, when there was just more heart and mystery to it, and I think they just, I think it's become a big jumble. I think the season was a jumble. Anything to add?
No, I agree. Yeah, I've kept defending it. I think I'm going into season 3 a lot less hopeful, to be honest. I'm sure season 3 is going to be better. Fucking hope season 3 is going to be better.
If it's
I
worse,
really hope it has some genuinely powerful moments, but I don't think it's going to be I don't really have any hope that it's going to actually be profound or anything special, to be honest.
Well, before we round up then, do you want to give a rating for the episode and then for the season?
Yeah. The episode I'm going to give a 7, to be honest. As much as I didn't like it, I So I do think it was an okay episode, and with how I've rated other
Mhm.
episodes, I think I've just got to give it that. The season as a whole is definitely a 6 for me. That's 100% the rating. It's just
Okay.
quite average, uninspiring.
The episode for me is a 5, and the season 4.
It's a 4 for the season. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again,
Uh,
I didn't hate it enough. I don't think that, it was just dull and
it's
they
just
felt
I
like something.
struggle to justify giving it more points though. I don't know what for. So it's not even like I'm hating it so much. It's just I don't really know what I'm praising it for, and
Yeah.
then those things really only add up to that to
Well, I
me.
think if I was watching it as a show and I hadn't read the books, I'd certainly be rating the season a 6, maybe even a 7, to be honest. I think I'd probably be enjoying it a lot more. But knowing the source material and how much they're fucking that up, then yeah, it's just not.
Possibly. I mean,
I have no idea. Maybe if I
it's
hadn't watched the books, if I hadn't read the books, I'd have switched off by now and I would have
yeah,
watched
I think probably,
the
but it's hard to put that hat on. But anyways, yeah, Doobies and movies. I'm sure there will be more before the end of the new year. Award show. Yeah,
We could do a movie for the new Pixar one because it is Doobies and movies.
Yeah, I was yeah already thinking of doing one for that. So doing one for that, maybe doing one for the new Wonder Woman as well.
Okay,
But
cool.
yeah, regardless, the end of year awards will be coming on New Year's Eve. And then probably the monthly roundup will come on January 1st or 2nd, maybe more likely.
Yeah, nothing's coming January 1st, man.
Nothing's coming January 1st. January 2nd. Yeah, so yeah, also big up BBC Together. We used that to watch this episode. So yeah, one thing to big up. But yeah, I know Doobies and Movies, His Dark Material season 2 complete, and we aren't too keen, but keep smoking doobies and keep watching movies. Check on adult reviews, unscripted, unedited, unadulterated. Like and subscribe to the page. Love and vibe every day. Doobies and movies. Got a few more coming before the end of the year.
Nice. Yeah, so
So